Dale, my man, great to see you over here. Thank you for joining us on this series.
Yeah, hey Pav, I appreciate you having me on. Normally we would do this in person, but we're doing it digitally, so we're in different times, huh?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, actually, you know what? We got a good opportunity to connect down in Super Bowl at least, right? So it's like,
Oh man, I'm still hanging on to Super Bowl memories, and I missed my flight the next morning.
of
Uh,
course you did.
yeah, I totally missed my flight, but you know that happens. But I love Miami. But yeah, it's been too long since we chopped it up again, so I was happy to hop on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So let's start here, man. Why don't you give an introduction of yourself and kind of what you're all about professionally?
All right. So former NFL athlete, started my career with the Green Bay Packers, finished with the Chicago Bears. But since leaving sports, I moved to New York, and now I'm a model and a host in New York City. Definitely a focus on entertainment. I do a ton in the wellness space, which comes pretty natural. And beyond that, just philanthropic endeavors. I'm a global ambassador for Special Olympics. So that's something that kicked off just personally, right? Just from family. My sister was a Special Olympics athlete. And, especially over the last few years, have just started to do a lot more in the creation, producing space, whether that's events or video production. So, yeah, and that's kind of what I'm doing in New York City right now. And I'm excited about everything, that's on the horizon.
Yeah, and where are you riding this whole thing
So I'm in South Dakota. So
out?
people are like, South Dakota. So I grew up in South Dakota, and I was actually in LA when all of this broke out. And I was getting ready to fly back to New York, and I was like, you know what? If this is as bad as people say it is, I'm gonna go see my family. And this has been a blessing, honestly. This is the most time I've spent with my family since I think high school. I've been kind of away from home since I was like 18. So I'm enjoying it. Slow pace, but it's all good things.
Yeah, good deal. What are you working on while you're out there? I mean, like, how has things kind of shifted and changed, and what are you building during this time?
Yeah, the personal growth and development aspect, just working on things like just the mental aspect of me, if you will. I've definitely taken a deep dive. I've started taking a couple online courses. I'm definitely a knowledge buff, so this is actually something that's kept me a little bit preoccupied because, you know, right away I wanted to go, 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 and then I, really realized and had to accept that like you're gonna just have to slow down. You can't control these things, and then just a lot of planning. Just last week I started shooting some projects actually here. I've got some really great friends who are really talented out here. So because I'm in South Dakota, I actually have a little bit more flexibility. So I have access to studio space, equipment. And yeah, other than that, just been hanging with family. But um, honestly, the planning aspect and just being able to sit down and know I have time to really focus on certain things. And, I've gotten more done in I feel like on passion projects or just new ideas in the last month than I have in a year before this.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, how has the business changed? I mean, I know you do a ton of brand work, as you mentioned.
Yeah,
You're the production space of actually physical conferences. I know you did that thing with was it Ultra, right?
yeah, our movement. So we actually had the landscape's definitely changed, right? So many things that I would do were in-person activations, events. Whether I was hosting or just helping them build it out and create it, and
Sorry,
and
yeah, I apologize about this. Just
no, you're good. There's no complaint. Hey, this is a good problem to have.
we
Um,
Taylor with her.
but overall, yeah, the landscape has completely changed. Obviously, we can't do things in person, but luckily, a lot of the clients and the relationships that I've had, we had contracts or we had built relationships over a period of time, so we were already locked in for the year. And one of the great things about that is, rather than completely stopping and, just waiting till a lot of these things clear up, we've really worked together just to think outside the box and try to stay on schedule with some of the branded stuff that's coming out, engaging audiences and things like that, and just get creative and do things, because there's no right or wrong way necessarily right now, and everyone's trying new things. So it's slowed, but at the same time, the conversations, the communication still going on. And I think it was kind of a shock to the system for everybody, right? So they're, throwing shit against the wall and seeing what sticks in a lot of instances, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. So how do you anticipate things, I guess, moving forward? So when we come back to whatever it is, a post-COVID world, and do you think the consumption and the attention, where do you think those things are shifting, and how are you anticipating kind of the future of your work?
It's hard to say, but I do believe that, we're going to get back to some sense of normalcy, or people are going to be more inclined to utilize digital platforms, really think of, honestly, it's so hard to wrap your head around exactly what's going on. But, I truly believe that if you go into influencer marketing, for example, I believe that right now, and I think in the near future, and, until things really start evening out with our economy, brands are going to really dive into influencer marketing, really creative campaigns that are digital. Their budgets may be slashed because obviously, it's affecting business across the board, but they're also no longer putting all these funds into live in-person activations. And again, I think just having the ability, if you have resources, a great team, and you can create, and it doesn't even have to be the best, right? It's just you can produce. I think you're always going to have some options, right? And then from that standpoint, it's just how can you get reach? It's the messaging. What do you convey? What do you align with? Those big scale productions, obviously, those are on hold for a while. I don't know when those are coming back anytime soon. So I think it's just being creative in the digital space, but I do see, brands still really diving into that. I like engagement and branding deals are up 30%, in anything that has to do with branding content, Facebook ads, all that stuff. So they're putting money in there. People's eyeballs are on it, but I don't know. It's a little trial and error. We just got to wait and see.
How have you found success with just getting creative or building new branded opportunities and keeping those sponsor relationships kind of alive well and just even invigorated, right? So if you're extracting more before, I'm curious to hear about that as well.
Yeah, I think a big thing, and this comes, this was put in place before any of this occurred, right? So it's first of all, working with brands or people that you connect with, believe in, and you align with, right? I think that's a big thing, and it makes it a lot easier to weather this storm, if you will. But, also, this is a time where, I believe that a lot more clients and brands are receptive to pitching them new ideas. So one of the things that I did since I've been back home, I shot about 4 different proofs of concept, and they all were around, something that's just a standard product. And this is showing video and photo because, that's my background's video and photo production, or video production and photography. But, so proof of concept, just showing, hey, this is what we could do. I don't know exactly what your plans are, but if you can't access studios, for example, we had, a big client send e-com stuff, like their products to South Dakota to get shot in a studio here rather than, because they couldn't access their stuff in New York, right? And I think just thinking creatively like that, what you have the ability to do, but also, it's, they're open to hearing new ideas. And then again, if you have a community, that's a big thing too. Just like we're sitting down talking here, that's how, I've really been able to stay engaged, with other ambassadors, clients. I've talked to more corporate C-suite people, that normally I would always have to go through an agency in the last few months than I did like all of last year, simply because, they want to be a little bit more involved and really understand, where the trends are going, and also just how people are consuming content and things like that right now.
Yeah, where are you finding the most success in terms of platforms? I know you're pretty heavy on Instagram. Is there anywhere else that you're either also seeing surprising amounts of engagement, or are you starting to build up an audience base elsewhere?
Yeah, well, TikTok is like blown up completely, right? And I saw like during NBA All-Star Weekend, they were setting aside full portions of the All-Star experience for it. I think they had a little bit during Super Bowl, but I always go back to this one, and I think now more than ever, LinkedIn. I think it's underutilized, and I think right now, it's great having social and like good, fun and jokes and dancing and all those things. But there's a lot of people hurting right now, but also there's a lot of businesses who need to streamline. They're going to have to cut costs, or they're going to have to, really change everything they've known, for years before. And I believe that LinkedIn, like, is going to continue to accelerate, but also I feel like, it just can't be ignored. You can put projects on there, you can connect with any and everyone. They have more time, so they're going to see your stuff. If you want to reach out, to high level execs or people in marketing or whatever it is. And then also you can run campaigns on there. You can do a lot of really creative things, and it actually has some of the highest engagement out of any platform. And for someone who's in sales or looking for leads, those always go into conversions, so I'm a big fan of LinkedIn, and I have to do better on it myself,
Yeah, that's really interesting, actually. That like being a B2B community that I cultivate, it's for me, it's a shame that I haven't been
Yeah.
kind of flexing the whole LinkedIn platform. But I think that this series for sure, I'm going to be releasing almost every day on LinkedIn. I started that just yesterday.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I made a commitment to myself that during this time, I'll not only create interesting B2B content, but I'll start to try to leverage a new platform, which is LinkedIn,
Yeah.
to start sharing.
Yeah.
What are some initiatives that you're building or new ways of working that you're experiencing now that's unique to COVID that you think that you may kind of sustain that going forward?
I definitely, I mean, the distancing, but also taking more meetings, whether it is video chat or just by phone. Just for me personally, and I think it's so easy if you're in a big city, just running around and sitting down here and there. And I've always been someone who's like really mindful of time, but also, if it forces you to be more efficient, more detailed, more outlined, and communicate better. I've definitely communicated much, much better during this time. And even when I've went into a planning state, I've been way more thorough. So I don't think that this is going to change nearly as much for some time. And you know, I'm okay with that. Like, in a lot of things, like I think the initial can be done. And even if you do a video call, right? Like it's a little bit more interaction, a little bit more engagement than just a call and a conference call. And I think like it's a great intro to intro to people that everyone's getting a lot more comfortable with. So I see this taking place even after all of the restrictions are lifted, much, much more.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, actually. I'm wondering, like, in your sports world, you've done quite a bit of consulting in terms of helping some professional athletes kind of reacclimate to the world after sports. I'm wondering, in your conversations today, what type of concerns are you hearing from professional athletes, and what type of advice are you giving them in terms of how to prioritize their time during this downtime?
Yeah, I mean, definitely first and foremost, and with any athlete, they've got to focus on their priority, and that's their sport, right? So they want to make sure they're healthy, still planning and everything like that. But I think, and I can't go back to it enough when they talk about the back end, the processes, the finances, just the little things that, once you get into season, or you just can't focus on, right? And then they pile up over a period of time. I think it also just really gives them a chance to look at the team that they've built in business or support, it's there's a lot of people right now who are, they want to work, they want to do different things, there's a lot of people who can't do what they can do, right? So like there's a lot of people out of work. I think there's also like a really great opportunity to build your team, or at least start conversations, and whether that's your agent seeking them out or other things, and being able to have people in your circle that may before like would have never been accessible. You know what I'm saying?
So Dale, you've done a good amount of work in your professional career on helping or consulting professional athletes into kind of acclimating or building their personal brand after sports, right? So what does that look like? Now, this is obviously a unique environment where folks that are current players, as well as ones that are now reemerging into, I guess life after sports, there it's kind of this time of, I would assume it's reflection for everyone, but I'm wondering what type of conversations you're having, what concerns they're having about their own careers, and how they're kind of and I guess, yeah, like how are you speaking to your kind of your community on that side in terms of how to make best of this time?
Yeah, for sure. So I actually just did a um, little demonstration with the NFL Players Association and Professional Athletes Foundation. And before that, we were just talking about the importance of keeping these former but also current players engaged during this time. For the guys who are going into a season and active, it's obviously extremely important that they stay healthy, stay in shape, and that they're taking care of their bodies and their minds during this time. The stress aspect is tough, right? Because they don't even know what's going to happen, right? And it's the timelines are all thrown off. But from a former athlete, and I would say this is for current as well, I think it's so important during this time to use your players associations to, really utilize your teams as resources, or the Professional Athletes Foundation and things like that, because, that's their job and that's what they're here for. Forget about transition, right? We're in a pandemic. And then if you're out of it at this time, there's still a lot of programs, a lot of opportunities, and a lot of resources that they have set up that most never even know about, or they never take the time to really look at and explore, right? So, and the great thing about that is if you utilize those resources and those organizations properly, you've got a whole team that's working for you and trying to find opportunities in order for you to succeed. Because when you're part of that union and when you have those vested years, that's their job. And, that's why they're set up in the way they are, in order to help players and their families, not only just the players, but their families as well during this time.
Yeah, to that point, I had gone down when we were down in Miami for NFL week. They had the NFL Players Association. I went to their kind of VIP opening weekend event.
Yeah.
And, of course, it was there was a ton of athletes there, but I mean, the amount of resources in that room was tremendous. And that was the first time that I had been exposed to that environment, the business side of sports. So
Yeah.
one thing to have conversations with ex players and current players, but to see the business and the branding and the capital and the management around all the players and the support that they get, it is tremendous. And
Yeah.
it was quite eye opening to see that that's available. Because, yeah, to your point, I don't think everybody leverages that.
Yeah, I don't think, and also it comes into that, back to pride a little bit. So I think sometimes like when players leave, or even when they're in it, they either feel like, they don't want to ask them for help, or they feel like, oh, I don't, want people all up in my business, or, you know, maybe it's not the cool thing or whatever, but like, that's, you know, the opportunities and resources, like even after I've been done and staying connected with the Players Association and, you know, the former Players Association as well. They've opened up so many doors and opportunities for me, you know, and also you're still tied to, you know, the NFL in some way, shape, or form. No one can ever take that away from you. But also, they work with every major network, every major brand, every, like, anything you can think of, you know, the NFL touches in some capacity. So that's something that I think you know, you have to take advantage of. And that no matter who you are, no matter what sport you're in, everyone, especially at, you know, at the professional level, has unions, and they have something set up to protect those players and provide them resources.
Dale, what type of folks are you looking to connect with these days, whether personally or professionally, and what is the best way to follow you and your work?
All right. So definitely from a personal standpoint, you know, people I can learn from, but that, I think that also goes in the professional space, right? Um, this time has really allowed me to, you know, really look at the things that are important, but also, you know, I've looked at this as an opportunity to really optimize and advance and take, you know, my mindset, my skill set, but also even just building network and take it to a different level from a brand perspective. You know, the wellness fitness obviously is natural, but, you know, I think that, you know, just any brand that's really trying to just push the envelope and has, like, they're not afraid to like dive into culture and really speak to not only their product but what people are going to, you know, they're going through, excuse me. And other than that, again, just good people sending good positive vibe. It's pretty simple with me. I think, you know, you put it out there enough and it kind of comes back to you. So, and for anyone who wants to connect with me, I'm always on Instagram at DaleMoss13. You can check me out on the web, officialdalemoss.com, see some of the work I've done with mossmartin.com, and Twitter at Dale Moss. And I think my LinkedIn's the same too. So you check me out there too.
I've done all the things. All right, cool. Well, yeah, man, my buddy, look forward to you coming back to New York and getting back to just kind of vibing, you know?
Bro, I miss it so bad. Like, as much as I'm thankful that I'm with family, and I couldn't be, you know, in a safer place overall, I feel. There's nothing like that city, you know, and also just the people, like, you know, us sitting at at Spring Place just having a cocktail. Like, those are times you can't get that anywhere else but New York, man.
Well, we'll get them soon enough, hopefully. And yeah, you keep well in the meantime. And thank you so much for your time today.
All right, brother. Take care and stay safe.
Cheers.